The massive silver ships of the Galactic Federation hung in Earth's orbit like elegant Christmas ornaments. Inside the command vessel, Admiral Bill paced back and forth, his blue-tinted skin reflecting the soft light of the ship's interior. This was their 15th attempt at formal contact in the past month, and just like before, Earth's response was nothing. "Perhaps they didn't receive our transmission," suggested First Officer Jack, his antennae twitching nervously. Bill stopped pacing and stared at the blue-green planet below. "Impossible. We've sent messages in every known format. Radio waves, quantum signals, light patterns, even old-fashioned electromagnetic broadcasts. They're receiving them. They're just ignoring us." The bridge crew watched as yet another human satellite casually drifted past their fleet. It didn't even change course to avoid them. It was as if their massive ships were simply not there. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Mike, "I'm picking up their entertainment broadcasts again. They're still showing something called Dancing with the Stars and various sports events. No mention of us at all." Bill rubbed his temples. In his 300 years of diplomatic service, he had never encountered anything like this. Most civilizations either responded with fear, wonder, or hostility. But complete indifference. This was new. "Launch the light show," Bill commanded. Within minutes, the Federation ships created a stunning display above Earth's major cities, a symphony of colors and patterns that could be seen from the ground. It was a display that had brought tears of joy to other civilizations. On Earth, a few people took videos on their phones, some posted about weird weather, and life continued as normal. News channels briefly mentioned unusual atmospheric phenomena between sports scores and weather reports. "Sir," Jack spoke up again, "a human spacecraft is approaching Mars." Bill rushed to the viewing screen. Indeed, a relatively primitive-looking human vessel was making its way to the Red Planet, where they already had several small colonies. The ship's trajectory would take it directly through the Federation's diplomatic fleet. "Finally, they'll have to acknowledge us now." Prepare the welcome message. The human ship maintained its course. The Federation vessels, each nearly the size of a small moon, shifted to make way. The Earth ship passed through their formation without changing speed or direction, not even bothering to adjust its course to avoid them. "Did they just?" Bill's voice trailed off in disbelief. "Yes, sir. They treated us like empty space." In the following days, the Federation tried everything in their diplomatic playbook. They created massive holograms above cities. They positioned their ships to spell out greetings in English large enough to be seen from the ground. They even sent small diplomatic vessels to hover near human space stations. The humans carried on with their daily lives. Their space stations continued maintenance work, occasionally moving around the diplomatic vessels as if they were merely space debris to be avoided. Down on Earth, life proceeded as usual. People went to work, children attended school, and social media buzzed with the latest celebrity gossip. The only acknowledgement of the Federation's presence came in the form of a few memes and jokes about weird lights in the sky. After 3 weeks of increasingly desperate attempts at contact, Bill called his first officers together for a meeting. "Report," he commanded wearily. "Sir," Mike began, "we've confirmed they have the technology to receive and understand our messages. Their internet is full of science fiction stories about alien contact. They know exactly what we are. They're just not interested." "But why?" Bill exploded. "We're offering them membership in the greatest civilization in the known galaxy, access to advanced technology, trade routes, cultural exchange." "Sir," Jack interrupted, pointing to a data screen, "you might want to see this. We just intercepted some encrypted transmissions from their Mars base. They're planning an expedition to Alpha Centauri next month." Bill sank into his chair, antennae drooping in defeat. "They're more advanced than we thought, aren't they?" "It appears so, sir, and I don't think they need anything we're offering." The Federation ships maintained their position above Earth, their crews watching in growing confusion as humanity simply went about its business, reaching for the stars on their own terms, completely uninterested in the grand diplomatic overtures happening right above their heads. The Federation's most accomplished diplomat, Ambassador Bob, stepped onto the bridge of the command ship with the confidence of someone who had never failed a mission. His spotless record of bringing new civilizations into the galactic community spanned over 4 centuries. "I've studied their culture extensively," Bob announced to Admiral Bill. "These humans simply need a more personal approach." 2 days later, Bob found himself standing in the middle of Times Square in New York City, perfectly disguised as a human in a business suit. His delegation spread throughout the crowd, ready to make history with the first official ground contact. Bob cleared his throat and began the carefully practiced speech that had won over 17 other civilizations. "People of Earth, I come with greetings from..." A hot dog vendor interrupted him. "Hey buddy, you're blocking my customers. Either buy something or move along." Nearby pedestrians walked past, heads down, focused on their phones. A group of tourists asked him to move so they could take photos of the billboards. Back on the command ship that evening, Bob paced in frustration. "I don't understand. We revealed ourselves in broad daylight." "Sir," reported an aide named Tim, "the humans did notice us. We're trending on something called TikTok as weird street performers." The situation became even more puzzling when the Federation's sensors detected a massive energy surge from the moon. Upon investigation, they discovered humans had built a quantum research facility on the dark side. The facility's energy output matched anything the Federation could produce. "Why didn't we know about this?" Bob demanded. "They never announced it," replied Tim. "They just built it." Over the next week, the diplomatic team observed more puzzling behavior. A human vessel casually passed through what the Federation had thought was a natural barrier in space-time. Another group of humans was spotted collecting samples from a gas giant in a nearby system, without any apparent FTL drive technology. How are they doing this? Bob wondered aloud, watching the feeds. And why won't they talk to us? The answer came from an unexpected source. While monitoring human internet traffic, they discovered a conversation on a platform called Reddit. User 1. Saw those alien diplomats again today lol. User 2. Yeah, they're trying so hard. User 3. Should we tell them we've known about them for like 300 years? User 4. Not let them figure it out. Bob stared at the screen in shock. 300 years. That's impossible. We only discovered Earth 2 months ago. More revelations followed. Human ships were spotted in Federation space, completely ignoring customs and border checkpoints. They appeared and disappeared at will, using technology that seemed to defy physics itself. The final straw came during an emergency Federation Council meeting. While discussing the human situation, they discovered that a human observer had somehow been sitting in their supposedly secure chamber the entire time. The observer, a middle-aged man in casual clothes, simply nodded politely and vanished when noticed. "This is unprecedented," Bob declared to his team. "They're not just ignoring our diplomatic efforts, they're beyond them. Our most advanced technology seems primitive to them." "Should we withdraw?" asked Tim. Before Bob could answer, a simple paper note appeared on his desk. The handwriting was casual, almost messy. "Dear Federation representatives, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but we're quite busy right now. Perhaps we can chat in a century or two when you've caught up a bit. Nothing personal. Humanity. P.S. Your cloaking technology needs work. We can see you even when you think you're hidden." Bob sat heavily in his chair, centuries of diplomatic experience suddenly feeling inadequate. On the screens around him, he watched as humans continued their daily lives, expanding through space at their own pace, developing technologies his people couldn't comprehend, and completely unbothered by the diplomatic crisis happening above their heads. "Well," he said finally, "I suppose this explains why they weren't impressed by our advanced technology package." Tim nodded, watching a human child on Earth pointing at their ships and calling them pretty lights before returning to her ice cream cone. "Should I prepare the withdrawal papers, sir?" Bob looked at the note again and sighed. No. Something tells me we need to stay and learn. We're clearly not the teachers here. We're the students. The Federation's intelligence chief, Dan, stared at the holographic display with growing unease. What his team had just discovered went beyond concerning. It was revolutionary. "Show me that sector again," he commanded. The display zoomed in on what should have been empty space beyond Pluto. Instead, it revealed a bustling human colony, one that definitely wasn't there last week. The scale was mind-boggling. A fully functioning city inside a massive transparent dome, complete with parks, buildings, and what appeared to be a shopping mall. "How long has this been here?" Dan asked. His assistant Mary checked the data. According to human internet chatter, about 6 years. They call it New Boston, and apparently it has great pizza. Dan rubbed his eyes. In 6 years, humans had built something that would have taken the Federation 50 years to construct. And they did it without anyone noticing. The revelations didn't stop there. Throughout the day, reports flooded in from Federation scouts across the galaxy. Human outposts were everywhere, hidden in asteroid belts, floating in gas giants, tucked away in dimensional pockets. They weren't even trying to hide them anymore. "Sir," Mary called out, "you need to see this." The display showed a human cargo ship passing straight through Federation territory. It wasn't using any known space lanes or checking in at any control points. It simply appeared, traveled where it wanted, and vanished. "Track it," Dan ordered. "We can't, sir. Our best sensors can't detect how they're moving. It's like they're taking shortcuts through space itself." A junior analyst named Pete burst into the room, holding a datapad. "Chief, we found something in their public records. These humans, they've mapped our entire territory. Every planet, every outpost, every secret base." "When did they do this?" Dan demanded. "According to their records, about 200 years ago. They filed it under weekend projects. The implications were staggering. While the Federation had been proudly planning first contact, humans had already explored, mapped, and probably surpassed everything they had to offer." During an emergency meeting with Ambassador Bob and Admiral Bill, Dan laid out his findings. "They're not just ignoring us," he explained. "They've been watching us develop, probably guiding our progress from the shadows. But why pretend to be less advanced?" Bob wondered. As if in answer, a small robot floated into their secure meeting room. It projected the simple message: sometimes a parent must let their children think they're teaching themselves. The robot disappeared before anyone could respond. The next day, Federation sensors detected massive energy signatures from Earth. The readings were off the charts, suggesting technology far beyond their understanding. But when they looked at the source, they just saw ordinary office buildings, homes, and coffee shops. "They've hidden everything in plain sight," Dan realized. "Their entire civilization is like an iceberg. We're only seeing the tip." The evidence kept mounting. Human children were spotted playing games with gravity. Teenagers were casually manipulating quantum states in their garages. What the Federation considered groundbreaking science was apparently basic education on Earth. A Federation probe sent to investigate a human space station simply disappeared. When questioned, a human maintenance worker shrugged and said, "Oh, that. Little Billy probably added it to his collection. He likes alien technology. Kids, you know." Dan compiled his final report with a sense of existential dread. The humans weren't just more advanced. They were operating on a completely different level of existence. In conclusion, he wrote, "Our attempts at diplomatic contact have been like ants trying to establish trade relations with humans. They're not ignoring us out of malice or pride. We simply haven't reached a level where meaningful communication is possible." As he finished the report, Dan noticed a cup of what looked like Earth coffee had appeared on his desk, along with a note: "Getting warmer. Keep studying. You'll get there eventually. Age." The coffee was perfect and somehow stayed at exactly the right temperature no matter how long he took to drink it. Dan couldn't help but laugh at the irony. Even their beverages were more advanced than Federation technology. Federation anthropologist Tom had always been different from his colleagues. While they focused on grand diplomatic gestures, he preferred watching and learning. After 3 months of studying humans, he finally discovered something that changed everything. Sitting in a small Earth coffee shop, disguised as a human, Tom overheard 2 elderly men playing chess. "Remember when we first found them?" One said, "Moving a pawn." The Federation. "Yeah, they were just figuring out faster than light travel back then." Cute times. Tom nearly dropped his coffee. He activated his hidden recorder. The men continued their game, casually discussing how humanity had been watching various alien civilizations develop for millennia. Their conversation revealed a stunning truth. Every single alien species had been carefully observed and subtly guided by humans. Back on the Federation ship, Tom presented his findings to a stunned council. "These aren't our first contact attempts," he explained, displaying his evidence. "They're our 100th. Humans have been watching us since before we discovered fire." The council room erupted in chaos. Admiral Bill raised his hand for silence. "Prove it." Tom played a recording he'd discovered in a public human database labeled Cute Alien Moments. It showed the Federation's first successful faster-than-light flight, from angles that should have been impossible to capture. "There's more," Tom continued. "Remember the great innovation of 2156, when we suddenly understood quantum mechanics? Look at this." He showed another video. The human child had apparently left their homework near a Federation research facility. That homework contained complex quantum equations, exactly the ones that had led to the Federation's breakthrough. "They've been dropping breadcrumbs," Tom explained, "guiding us, like parents teaching children to walk." "But why?" Ambassador Bob asked. "Because that's what they do. They're the guardians, the watchers, the teachers. We thought we were so advanced, coming to welcome them into galactic society. But they've been running that society since before we existed." More evidence emerged as Tom dug deeper. Earth's apparent pollution problems. Clever camouflage for massive energy collectors. Their seemingly primitive space program. A carefully maintained facade. Those humans who appeared to be walking dogs or jogging in parks. Many were actually maintaining complex dimensional equipment. The Federation's most classified files were found in a human library, filed under historical comedy. Their most secure transmissions were being used as background noise in human meditation apps. During his investigation, Tom noticed something else. Humans were letting him discover this information. They'd leave datapads in his path, or accidentally say revealing things when he was nearby. Finally, an old human professor approached Tom in the coffee shop. "You're pretty good at this," the professor said, not looking up from his newspaper. "Most aliens never figure it out at all." "How long have you known I was watching?" Tom asked. The professor smiled. "Oh, we've been watching you watch us watch you watch us. It gets a bit recursive, doesn't it?" "Why tell me now?" "Because you're asking the right questions. Most focus on our technology, our power. You're trying to understand why we do what we do." "And why is that?" The professor folded his newspaper. "Have you ever raised children? Sometimes they need to believe they're discovering things on their own. Sometimes they need to think they're the ones teaching you." Before Tom could respond, the professor was gone. In his place was a small device, clearly Federation technology, but improved in ways Tom couldn't understand. That evening, Tom submitted his final report. He concluded with an observation that would change the Federation forever. "We haven't been making first contact with humanity. Humanity has been maintaining last contact with us, staying just distant enough to let us grow, learn, and develop on our own. Our diplomatic mission was never about teaching them. It was about us finally being ready to learn." As he sent the report, Tom noticed his coffee cup had been refilled. He hadn't seen anyone approach his desk. The coffee was perfect, as always. He smiled, wondering how long humans had been perfecting the art of brewing coffee for all the species they watched over. The Federation Council made its worst decision that day. After months of being ignored by humans, they decided to demonstrate their power. Admiral Bill strongly opposed the idea, but he was overruled. The humans need to understand their place in the galaxy, declared High Commander Frank, as he ordered the Federation's entire battle fleet to Earth. 10,000 warships appeared around Earth's orbit, their weapons primed. It was the largest show of force in Federation history. High Commander Frank broadcast his message: "People of Earth, you have ignored our diplomatic efforts. Now you will see our power. Submit to Federation authority." Or, he never finished the sentence. Earth vanished. Not just the planet. The entire solar system disappeared. One moment it was there, the next, empty space. No explosion, no movement, just gone. "Find them," Frank shouted. The Federation's best sensors detected nothing. Earth, its moon, all its planets, and even its sun had somehow been moved, or hidden, or both. In the chaos that followed, a simple text message appeared on every Federation ship's screen. That was rude. Humanity. Panic spread through the fleet. If humans could move an entire solar system without effort, what else could they do? The answer came quickly. Federation ships started reporting strange occurrences. On some vessels, gravity reversed itself. On others, time began moving backwards. Several ships found themselves transformed into giant potted plants, complete with flowers. "Sir," reported a terrified officer, "Deck 7 just turned into a beach. There are crew members surfing." Frank watched helplessly as his mighty fleet was turned into a cosmic art exhibition. Some ships were now made of gelatin. Others had been knitted into wool. One particularly unfortunate vessel had become a giant rubber duck. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything returned to normal. Earth and its solar system reappeared exactly where they had been. A new message appeared. "Just so we're clear, we're not ignoring you because we're weak. We're ignoring you because we're busy. Please don't interrupt us again. Humanity." Case, we kept the rubber duck. It was funny. The Federation fleet retreated in disorder. During the emergency council meeting that followed, Admiral Bill reviewed the sensor logs. The level of power they showed, he said, shaking his head. Moving an entire solar system would require energy beyond our comprehension. But for them, it was as easy as moving a chess piece. "The transformation of our ships," asked a council member. "They weren't just changing matter. They were rewriting the laws of physics locally. For fun." The council watched footage of Earth continuing its daily routine as if nothing had happened. Humans went to work. Children played in parks. And somewhere, someone was probably enjoying coffee. Then came the most terrifying discovery. Analysis showed that during the entire incident, humans had only used technology equivalent to what they would give their kindergartners to play with. A final message arrived in the council chamber. "By the way, that wasn't our real technology. That was just what we let our kids use for art projects. Please don't make us show you the grown-up stuff. Humanity. Yes, your rubber duck is doing fine. We named it Frank Jr." The message included a photo of the transformed ship, now floating peacefully in what appeared to be a human child's bathtub. Admiral Bill couldn't help but laugh. "All this time, we thought we were the advanced civilization offering membership to a developing world. Instead, we just tried to threaten a species so advanced they treat laws of physics like playground rules." As the Federation fleet limped home, they passed a human family in what looked like a simple rowing boat, casually traveling faster than light speed. The father waved cheerfully. His children were using quantum fluctuations as skipping stones. The final report to Federation High Command was brief. Recommendation: never, ever threaten Earth again. They don't ignore us because they can't respond. They ignore us because acknowledging us would be like us trying to have a serious diplomatic conversation with bacteria. We should be grateful they find us amusing rather than annoying. On a quiet Tuesday morning, the Federation's understanding of the universe changed forever. It began when Ambassador Bob found an invitation on his desk, written on what appeared to be a piece of the space-time continuum itself. Time for a chat. Bring friends. The Guardians of Galaxy HR-27b. When Bob showed the invitation to Admiral Bill and Intelligence Chief Dan, the paper flickered and added, "Yes, all three of you. Now would be good." They felt a slight shift, and suddenly they were sitting in what looked like a comfortable Earth living room. An ordinary-looking human man sat in an armchair, drinking tea. "Welcome," he said. "I'm John. We're what you might call the building maintenance staff for this galaxy cluster." "You're human?" Bob asked carefully. John smiled. "Humanity isn't what you think it is. We're not just Earth's civilization. We're the guardians of multiple galaxies, dimensional anchors, and reality maintenance workers. Earth is just our current favorite coffee break spot." He waved his hand, and the room's walls became transparent, revealing countless galaxies swirling around them. Some were familiar to the Federation representatives. Others existed in spectrums of reality they hadn't known existed. "You see," John continued, "we've been managing galactic development for, well, time is a bit fuzzy when you work at our level, but let's say a very long while. Earth isn't our homeworld. It's more like our local office." The Federation officials watched in awe as John demonstrated how humans had been subtly guiding the development of countless civilizations. Their apparent primitive technology was actually just a carefully maintained facade. "Remember when your scientists discovered the unified field theory?" John asked. "That was actually my daughter's homework assignment. She was supposed to help a developing civilization achieve a scientific breakthrough. She got an A-. "But why hide all this?" Dan asked. "Think about raising children," John explained. "You don't show a toddler how to drive a car. You let them learn to walk first. Similarly, we can't show developing civilizations everything we can do. They need to grow at their own pace." He showed them images of human children playing with pocket universes, teenagers practicing galaxy formation, and adults casually restructuring reality during their lunch breaks. "Your Federation," John continued, "is doing quite well. You're at the stage where you're ready to learn that there's much more to reality than you imagined. That's why we let you find out about us." "Let us?" Bob asked. "Of course. Did you think Tom discovered our true nature by accident? We've been preparing your civilization for this revelation for centuries. Those diplomatic missions you sent, we knew about them before you planned them." John showed them a timeline of their own civilization's development. Every major breakthrough, every scientific discovery, every cultural advancement had been gently guided by human observers. But what about Earth's pollution? Their political conflicts? Their seemingly primitive space program? Admiral Bill asked. John laughed. "Camouflage. Those solar panels you see, they're actually dimensional energy harvesters. Those political disputes, training exercises for our junior reality managers. That primitive space program. Well, we have to maintain appearances." He stood up and walked to a window that suddenly appeared. "Would you like to see what Earth really looks like?" The view shifted, and they saw Earth as it truly was. A magnificent nexus of dimensional energies, a control center for multiple realities, a training ground for beings who manage the very fabric of existence. "So all this time," Bob began. "You weren't failing at diplomacy," John finished. "We were succeeding at education. Your Federation is almost ready to join the galactic community properly, not as a leading civilization, but as one that's mature enough to know its place in the greater scheme." As the meeting ended, John handed them what looked like a simple business card. "When you're ready for real diplomatic relations, give us a call. And don't worry about the rubber duck ship. It's become quite popular in our children's transportation division." They found themselves back on their ship, the business card now displaying a countdown timer. Time until your civilization is ready for basic interdimensional physics. 47 years, 3 months, 2 days. Below it was a note: "Study hard." The Federation Council sat in stunned silence as Ambassador Bob, Admiral Bill, and Intelligence Chief Dan finished the report about meeting John. The revelation that humanity wasn't just a planetary civilization, but rather the guardians of multiple galaxies, had shaken their worldview to its core. "So what do we do now?" asked High Commander Frank, who had notably removed all rubber ducks from his office. "We learn," Bob replied simply. "For the first time in our history, we know our true place in the universe. We're not the teachers, we're the students." The changes in Federation society happened gradually but profoundly. Their scientists began finding subtle clues in their research equations left in margins, small accidents that led to breakthroughs, and the occasional friendly note saying, "getting warmer." One morning, a Federation school received a package labeled Basic Interdimensional Physics for Beginners, age 5 to 7. Inside was a toy that appeared to break several laws of physics. A note attached read, "When you figure out how this works, you'll be ready for the next lesson." The Federation's diplomatic corps underwent a complete reorganization. Instead of trying to bring other civilizations under their control, they began looking for signs of human guidance in their development. "It's like a cosmic treasure hunt," explained Dan to a group of new recruits. "Humans have left learning opportunities everywhere. Our job is to find them and understand them." They discovered that humans had established similar relationships with countless other civilizations. Some were more advanced than the Federation, others less so, but all were being gently guided toward greater understanding. One day, a human child appeared during a Federation science conference. She couldn't have been more than 10 years old, yet she solved complex mathematical problems while playing with what appeared to be a simple toy. "Your homework's due in about 50 years, she said cheerfully before disappearing, leaving behind a set of equations that would keep Federation scientists busy for decades. The Federation's military underwent the biggest change. Their mighty warships were converted into exploration vessels. After all, as Admiral Bill noted, what's the point of having weapons when the beings you might fight against can turn your entire fleet into rubber ducks? Humanity began making more casual appearances in Federation space. They never interfered directly, but their presence served as a reminder of the greater universe waiting to be understood. Sometimes they would leave small gifts, seemingly simple objects that contained profound scientific principles. A human family having a picnic on a comet became a regular sight. Their children would wave to passing Federation ships while playing games that seemed to bend reality itself. The countdown timer on the business card John had given them continued its steady march. Federation scientists discovered that studying it alone provided insights into temporal mechanics they had never imagined. 1 year after their meeting with John, the Federation received another invitation. "Annual Galactic Guardian Family Picnic next Saturday. Bring a dish to share. No artificial gravity manipulation by children under 12 without supervision." Last year's black hole incident was messy enough. The humans, the Federation's representatives, attended, finding themselves among beings from across multiple galaxies and dimensions. They watched in amazement as human children played tag between dimensions while their parents discussed the finer points of universal maintenance. "You're doing well," John told them during the picnic. "Keep studying. In a few decades, you might be ready to help us guide younger civilizations." The Federation finally understood. Humanity's apparent disinterest in diplomacy had never been about ignorance or arrogance. It had been about letting them develop at their own pace, under careful but loving supervision. As the Federation representatives prepared to leave the picnic, a human child handed them what looked like a simple toy. "It's a model of your galaxy," she explained. "But it only works if you believe impossible things are possible." They took the toy back to their scientists, who spent months studying it. Eventually, someone tried believing in the impossible, and watched in amazement as the toy revealed secrets about their galaxy they had never imagined. The Federation had finally learned their most important lesson. Sometimes the best diplomacy isn't about asserting power or establishing dominance. Sometimes it's about knowing when to sit quietly and learn from those who have been teaching all along.